Ratos me queda tarando bacarata andrandos. The stars are brightly shining. The wisdom night of their dear sweetest birth. Dondrandito, andrando trandito, dos andrando tu, andrando pandrando, andrando. Andrandi otrandondo sodondrando Andrandi otrando Dondo sondu Andro sondrando Andreando Andrandeoto Ando Tindranto Tondrando Nondrandingo Tandrando candrandio sondrando otro tondro sondondo tro andrando sondrando drandon dandra Andrando, andrandos, andrando, andrando, do, tronto, do, tondrondo, tantroto, tondrondo, Atrato dentro andranto andrandito dentro Nandrandito Andrandeos Tom Dondrando on trito Vandrando Somebody's growing at my address and it's sure the fuck not me. I have a feeling they might be related to me and maybe a felony slapped in their puss will get their attention. It's how they think when it comes to me. So a little tit for tat. And then troto sabagat and the other caroton at the caratonda. Ventatrukapatian trato, natikarato sabagia randora. Endio, trato samegea, andrandio, garato, semea, regaratondia, rato, arada, mandriato, samegea, radro. Atrandia, sabegia, rando, bagarantia, seado. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are the deal. You're as scrappy as a cactus, you're as charming as a eel, Mr. Grinch. You're a bad banana with a greasy but peel. You're a monster, Mr. Grinch. You're not an anymore. Your babies with fighters, they can fight in your soul, Mr. Grinch. I wouldn't touch you with the 39.5-foot pole. You're a wild one, Mr. Grinch. You have termites in your smile. You have always the sweetness of a sweet crocodile, Mr. Grinch. Choice between the two of you, I'd take the same-sex crocodile. You're a foul one, Mr. Grinch. You're misty, waxy slunk. Your hardly fun was tracks are full of junk, Mr. Grinch. The 3 words that describe you are as follows, and I quote, stink, stank, stunk. You're rotten, Mr. Grinch. You're king of sinful thoughts. Your thoughts are made spots of no neighbor spots, Mr. Grinch. Your soul's abundant, overflowing with the most disgraceful shit I can't remember because I'm not stoned enough. Exclusively Jim Sly. Oh, goodness. You're broken, chucky, and you're kind of hearts, Mr. Grinch. Your sleep style with crowd and toast-filled sandwich without scenic sauce. That sums it up. Ring, are you listening? In the rain, snowbells glistening. A beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland. Got a strange, is a new bird, here to say, is a new bird. We sing a love song as we go along, walking in a winter wonderland. In the meadow we can build a snowman and pretend that he is Parson Brown. He will say, are you married? We'll say, no, man. And you can do the job when you're in town. Later on, we'll conspire as we dream by the fire. The ways of unafraid, the finest that we made, walking in a winter wonderland. Oh, it's time for a saxophone solo in the middle of a fucking Christmas song. I like this version. Snowman, pretend that he is smart clown. He'll have some fun with it's a snowman. He'll lift up the cards of the clown. Then the curtain of your toes, it's a feeling. Dance on my way, walking in a winter wonderland, smoking a little hash on top of my bud. Oh, I loaded it in the wrong one. It's the best time of the year. I don't know if that's only so. Have a cup of cheer. Have a holly jolly Christmas. And the wind up down the street. Say hello to Mrs. Jano and everyone you meet. Oh, the mistletoe, it's somewhere you can see. Somebody waits for you, that someone's for me. Have a holly jolly Christmas, and the face you didn't hear. Oh my golly, have a holly jolly Christmas this year. Tomorrow's the deadline. It's December 23rd, and if I don't get back home, it's abandoned and the insurance policy gets canceled, but I retain my auto insurance. It was $400 through June 30th, 2022. Oh, the mistletoe, a song that you can see. Somebody waits for you, kiss her once from me. Have a holly jolly Christmas, and in case you didn't hear, oh by golly, have a holly jolly Christmas this year. Yeah. I think that will be enough of the singing for right now. I know you guys cannot resist your very own exclusively Jim Sly contest, and I do encourage you, very much so, to participate in such. Today is the 22nd of December of 2021, and at the shelter of homelessness where I do stay, I do live here. I can't use it as an address, but I can live here. I stay here. It's been a couple of months, I think about 2.5 now. I'm on housing lists, and I'm awaiting for other things, and I'm also waiting for a large check. My home being sold, which wasn't really sold, but they did hire somebody to put some really cool software onto my phone so it would look as if things were happening that weren't, because my home got paid off through my very own money from tax returns of the past. Paid it off in full, and then they tried to sell it 3 days later. They owe me back, and if it's burned to the ground, they owe me double. Today, I've lost all my things, unless they're sitting on Sly Farms in a nice, safe, dry place, waiting for me to return home gladly. My family's all reunited for the happy holidays, and they can help me brainstorm a better solution than what I have. One of the things that came today that makes me pretty happy is this Walt Disney Storyland book that's in a way better shape than the one that I used to own. This was a book of my childhood that I read to my little sisters, and probably cats and dogs and whoever else would listen, because I enjoy reading. I have to wear glasses these days, and I don't really like wearing glasses. at all, and I don't like the way they make me look, but if I'm to see enough to read words, I have to use them. This is a copyright of 1962. This book. It's got really good pictures and stories. It's got all different stories. I used to read these stories a lot. And tonight, I selected one. I pre-selected one like I'm a librarian or a teacher. I planned that much. I did plan a little bit. Not enough to get high enough before I started, though. This is my medical marijuana. It's the thing that I've been prescribed since 1999 to heal my ailments. I'm in Oregon, where it's legal, and it's been legal since 99. I haven't been able to grow since June, when 4 sheriff deputies from Lane County, Oregon, and I was in Cresswell, Oregon, came to my house and told me to leave with some paperwork saying I was evicted while there was an eviction moratorium. I was the homeowner. They didn't apparently recognize who I was, or they didn't care, and that's the excuse they're using now. I owned the home. I'd been paying for it for 1.5 years. I wasn't behind on anything, but they've chased me away, and they make it either they're pretending that the home's been sold or the home's been sold and my loan's been paid off. It's caused me to go 50 points down in my credit. I was almost to good, and now I'm to poor. I have been chased to different addresses where people are getting things for me and not forwarding them to me. Somebody's getting into my P.O. box in Cresswell and picking out the things that they like. I have a girlfriend that I've never met that's been on my P.O. box for 1 year, and I suspect either she is here using that P.O. box, her name is Kimberly Mark, or somebody has assumed her identity and is doing such. If it's her, it's possible that she's not wanting to do it, or she's been tricked into doing it. In any case, I've been messed with for a long time to produce a lot of material, filmed, recorded, drawings, paintings, felt art now, the latest thing I've been doing. I drew hundreds of pictures on receipts when I delivered for Instacart and Uber Eats. I've done a bunch of things, and people like me now enough to start speaking up and taking a risk to stand up for what's right. And those things are becoming valuable in certain places where there's a clutch of people that have enough money to do such deals. The division's gotten pretty bad. The poor are real poor and the rich are real rich. And they're squeezing out the people they don't like anymore, so they don't have to flop their tit out for somebody to suck on, I think is how they call it. They'd like to kill off the weakest, so they don't need to support them anymore. But they don't really realize exactly how to measure things properly. So it's been very interesting to have a peek inside their tiny little noggins. We would be better run by a group of exceptionally decently smart 12-year-olds than who's in charge right now. The United States of America has somebody in charge that was declared mentally incompetent and is unable to manage a checking account and is in charge of feeding a country. It's gotten ugly, and people are taking things left and right. Talk about trickle-down effect. It's supposed to be something to bring revenue from the top to the bottom. And now we have people that have been stealing so much from the top that the only way people can survive is to do such in any possible way. I'm completely honest. That's what's going to allow me to win. No matter what the fuck people have said about me, they can't prove a single bit of it because I've compulsively recorded everything. Just like a licensed clinical social worker would be trained to do. I became a licensed clinical social worker in 1999. Around the same time, I got my first Oregon medical marijuana program patient and grower card. I did really damn good in my business. So much so that an agency called Willamette Family Incorporated, which just calls themselves Willamette Family now, on paper, stole my ideas and my PowerPoint and my trainings and my forms, and they sold them, and they put them together in neat little packages, and they recorded me without my permission, and they put that into neat little packages, and they had my voiceover and my music, and they added drawings that I did. And they haven't paid me one single cent because they say I generously donate everything back. I'm on food stamps. I don't think I would donate $7 million and a Mercedes-Benz to Walter Hill. I met him playing music. He plays drums. I had to stay with him for about a year. He was terribly abusive. I had nowhere else to go. We worked it out that he ended up going away for a while because he has a problem with driving way too fast and driving while he's using meth and drinking. Does not agree with me, and I haven't seen him in a long time, but my family does. They allow him to have contact with my daughter instead of me. It's really sad. My stepfather has very poor judgment. He adopted me, and now he's trying to disinherit me. I'm 51. He adopted me in 1973 when I was 3 years old, and he's now trying to disinherit me. He actually does not realize that I'm in a position to be put in guardianship of him due to his extreme poor judgment in the type of people he selects to have around and to pay with my money to be around children when they don't have licenses and they're convicted sex offenders. He handpicked each and every one of them. So he's going to need to explain that, along with where all the revenue's going. I'm at a homeless shelter. Did you all pay for that? The dude staying at my house now has found out that the Ferrari that was delivered to Walterville on Sunday was for me to drive to see if I liked it, and not a gift. And his Mountain Dew decal installed for free on that vehicle is not going to go over well when the Italians come to retrieve that stallion. Just a heads up, Brian J. He's not quite dead yet. This guy has like terminal cancer for the last 13 years now. At some point, guy should get his own medical marijuana card if he wants to grow. He doesn't even smoke it, let alone grow it. That's basic rule of thumb. If you're going to sell marijuana, smoke it. You need to know what the fuck you're talking about in order to sell it. If you're gonna grow marijuana, smoke it. It's not like you tweakers that are used to cooking up your batch of meth and you better not do it because it might fry your brain enough that you can't cook another batch. Plus you can't stop yourself from using it all instead of selling it. I don't ever sell my marijuana, but many people have stolen it to the point of I haven't grown it for over half a year, and there's absolutely no Don Sly grown marijuana at all left, and there won't be until I get to a place where it can happen again. And even then, if I can get teenage clones, we're still talking 8 to 12 weeks before anything's ready to pick. And then it needs to dry, and then it needs to cure. I've been spending my money on my medication because the police are trafficking drugs out of my house at the sheriff's approval. He's giving them overtime. All their Christmas gifts are coming out of my house for people sending things to me. They're getting re-gifted to the county police. And it's been so generous that they're helping out other counties and they're helping the state police and it's not bribes. There's nothing illegal about it whatsoever because the governors and the senators are on board with it and they're willing to look the other way because a past president is among them and his smile is so shiny that they can't think of anything else about what they're going to get from him because they know the things that he does and they have pictures of it. And so when they remind him, they'll get more each and every time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you like to wear some ridiculously named eyeshadow that you stole during a search at a homeless shelter. It wasn't mine. The type of people that stay here keep track of their missing toenail clippings. They sure as fuck notice this particular shade of expensive eyeshadow missing. Probably carried by 4 tiny robot arms. It's just a guess. I'm not saying for certain. I think those things are together. And at least half of them. You should buy some new eyeshadow and bring it. Everybody knows that when people have a bad thing happen to them and they're disadvantaged, that you should pretty them up. Where are the facials and the permanents in a box? And the dyes and the lipstick and the blush and the things to make people who are really fucking poor living on just dollars feel better about themselves. Make it shiny, make it pretty, hand tailor it, so Don's birth dad can sashay around in it with his 20 close friends on hidden cameras because that house really was sold. And they did just what we do to everybody else, and they've got their own bank of cameras and their own secret studio. Except the show is not what anybody's paid for, and nobody finds it entertaining whatsoever. And they would rather stare at somebody with a very badly lit face, looking like fucking Phantom of the Opera, going on and on and on about being maltreated, than watch something you've spent billions and billions of dollars on. And everybody who's ever made a movie in the past 3 years is going to think I'm personally talking about them, because the only type of people that do that type of work are that way. There might be one or two that are okay, but probably not so much. The story I have selected tonight is Holiday in Nature. If you're American, which I am, I'm American and I get disability benefits for being disabled and for being a widow. I get $131 a month for my 17-year relationship, a civil union with my deceased same-sex partner. I'm a lesbian, and I deserve $131 per month. She got about $2,800, about $800 or $900 a month for my daughter that my family is stealing. They steal $800 or $900 a month from me for my daughter, who they are stealing. There are increased amounts of smarter relatives coming in closer for the holidays, so there is a possible chance that they'll pull their heads out of their asses once they can scurry the law enforcement out with a nice shiny dildo or two. Strap it on. If they've got a holster for that gun, they've got a relay race that you will enjoy. So once they clear those dumb fucks out, this particular police department decided to scrap the intelligence requirement for their department due to special needs. And they hired everybody with special needs possible and allowed people that aren't smart enough to sign up for cable TV to write tickets out and go to court and testify. It's a really scary deal in Cresswell, Oregon. But, as I said, some of my material is reaching people that have brains, that are now realizing that other people that have brains have realized that they've ignored me because they trusted that I was being taken care of properly. They thought when they sent that money that it would actually come to me and not be spent so all my friends could go to Hawaii for the holidays on my dollar. How are they gonna pay that back? It's a good question that I don't fucking care. But I need a lot of strength from people and a lot of good wishes and good intent, because most of the people coming have absolutely no genetic relation to me. And they really don't care, because they're pretending like they're coming to help me and they just want to see what their share of the take is. And each one shows up and realizes that people are knowing what they're doing, and they get to act their way out of it. It's something that should be really interesting. I don't know how many of them have lost their car insurance by now, but it's not gonna be me. And I don't really feel sorry, because they've been trying to do it to me for every year for a long time. Since 2017, when I took 10 100 milligram doses of medical marijuana at once while I was driving, March 2017. I filmed myself for a couple hours. It went really well. They waited 2 years and arrested me as if it had happened. I have no arrest record. So when I try to get opportunities, suddenly we can't have you because there's a COVID outbreak. Not because I'm not qualified, not because I can't pass the background check, but because there's COVID. Now, I am a COVID booster survivor. I'm a pregnant woman who's 51 that the doctor refused to believe, even though I'm 6 months along and they have visual imaging in his computer even. Had he been intelligent enough to know how to click on the tab to see everything that had been carefully prepared ahead of time for him, he would have seen the pictures of the fetuses inside me and ordered an ultrasound so we could get an update. But instead, they saved the urine and they used it. They sent it to the state collection lab after taking a drug test without my permission that was 0 for every single substance, including THC. And then they used it for Cliff Harold to pass his urine exam, which he's having frequently because he got in trouble and he's on probation, and it's real hush-hush, but he'll have to go to rehab and lose his job if he gets caught again. They held the urine because it's their requirement for a certain amount of period. They did not take a pregnancy test on him, and they will be. And he's definitely pregnant. Or he's paying doctors that wear pink Oxford shirts that they got out of a box from my childhood collection from 1988. I recognize the stain on that shirt, and it had to do with smoking cigarettes. And every patient you see notices it now too. So while you think it's a really cool thing to be running around with the prize shirt you stole, you look like a dick, and nobody likes you. This is a man that could not review diagnostics, but he insisted that I needed to squinch a turd into a plastic container at a lab location that only an inpatient psychiatric unit uses. He wanted 4 vials of blood, and he told me I'm too old to have babies. He went to court and said that I had my period, and that's why he knew that I wasn't pregnant, because somebody at the shelter where I stay called and said that I had my period, where I stay with 22 other women. They apparently are monitoring my every excrement. So he goes to court and testifies that I had my period, and that's why I'm not pregnant. And then he tells me that I'm too old to be pregnant anymore. Now, the last time I had testing, which was 4 months or 6 months ago with the 4 vials at Peace Health in Cottage Grove, I was not even premenopausal. And the bitches in the lab were amazed. They had to send the shit out somewhere else because it appears that I'm fertile myrtle enough to last till about 68. If I don't do something to stop that, I could be lucky enough to bleed till 68 every month. If I could just get the rapists to stop using me to produce prizes that generate a lot of money. Either that or they happen to extract some eggs without my permission that they like to sell. Or both. Regardless, the doctor didn't get his turd before Christmas, and his bonus is gone. And the boys can only find so many ways to sneak in and fix something that's broken. It's gotten old. Gotten used to it. And they've left a lot of fingerprints and jizz in places where only lesbians have been. Doesn't take a team from NCIS that pays $12,000 a night until somebody realizes they don't recognize any of them anymore and they need to go, to figure out who has been staying illegally on my property free of charge. Today, a picture was taken of 2 of the police officers in butt-fuck position inside the door, the locked door, guarding, apparently, taking a lot of money to guard property from people out of country that thought that it was being done properly. Those drones really are real. Oh fuck, they've been keeping track of shit. And Periscope TV is back up. All the things restored. And people are taking the time to drive this way despite inclement weather, because it's worth it. That's what I have to say. Sure, Disney's gonna love the hell out of this. But, I'm not the one who lost the rights to the University of Oregon using Donald Duck's likeness, filmed dry humping women, children, and men. It happened on my property as well. And it was televised internationally. And the duck was in blackface. So, they've spent a lot of money coming after me, an individual Don Sly, and pretended to win a bunch of money, but the University of Oregon is going to need to defend themselves from somebody much larger than them. And it should be a good battle. Kinda, not really. They'll just be really sad. And if you search my social media, which now everything is back up, you will see that I pre-recommended a mascot for them that I think is going to be pretty awesome. No more puddles. Unless you pee your pants. Mickey Mouse goes Christmas shopping. It's hard to see. It's hard to see pictures. Morty Mouse dried the breakfast dishes. Ferdy Mouse swept the floor. They both made their beds and picked up their clothes, because today was the day Uncle Mickey and Aunt Minnie had promised to take them Christmas shopping, if they were very good. They all rode downtown in Uncle Mickey's car. What a wonderful day it was! There were snowflakes spinning in the air. There were frosty breezes blowing around the buildings. Every street corner was a tinkle with the sound of Santa's helpers' bells. Every shop window was a twinkle with colored lights and toys. Best of all was the big department store. Morty Mouse and Ferdy Mouse took Mickey and Minnie firmly by the hand, and they led those grown-ups through the crowd, straight into the busy store. What a hustle! What a bustle! What a clatter! What a crowd! But Morty and Ferdy knew where they were going. Whenever Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse tried to hang back to look at sweaters or mittens or socks, Morty and Ferdy tugged at their hands and pulled them straight ahead. For they had seen a big sign saying, "Toys!" Zoop! Up they went in an elevator straight to the toy floor. What a wonderful place it was. There was a room full of dolls, but they raced by that. There were tables of games and balls and bats and skis. But Morty and Ferdy had no time for those. What we want for Christmas are things that go, they shouted, racing onto the toy cars and trucks and trains and some extra special toy airplanes. "Stay with Uncle Mickey while I go to shop," Minnie whispered to Morty. Mickey wanted to buy a present for Minnie, too. "Stay with Aunt Minnie," he told Ferdy. "We'll meet at the car at closing time." So, there were Ferdy and Morty in the great big toy shop on their own. And what a wonderful time they had. They tried out every single toy that moved. They bought tickets for the spaceship, which advertised, "Quick trip to the moon, 10 cents. And during the thrilling ride through space, Morty and Ferdy fell asleep. At the end of the ride, the other children piled out. The pilot climbed out of his spacesuit and stretched. "Glad this day is over," he said to the Santa Claus helper, who worked at the store, getting messages from children all day. Then the space pilot went home, and all the clerks in the entire toy shop went home. Just then, Morty woke up. He looked around. It was dark and strange. "Where are we, Ferdy?" he asked. "In the spaceship," said Ferdy, waking up too. "Maybe we're on the moon." So they opened the door and peeked cautiously out. There was the toy department, but how strange it looked now. For everything was shadowy and still. There was plenty of space to drive the toy cars and trains, but the boys did not seem to care. Just then they saw a beam of light. "Let's see what that is," they whispered both at once. So hand in hand they tiptoed toward the light. Squeak, 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 in the dark. When they reached the open door and peeked through, imagine their surprise. For there sat Santa's helper at a desk. "Well, well," he said when he saw them there, "what brings you youngsters here this time o' day?" So Morty Mouse and Ferdy Mouse told him their tale. "I see," said Santa's helper with a wise and kindly nod, and he stood up and took them each by one hand. Then down through that big, still department store they marched with a fine, big, clumping sound. Through the big front door they saw Mickey and Minnie Mouse. "Wherever have you been?" cried Minnie. "Here they are," said Santa's helper, "as good as new." Then he turned to the boys with a serious look. "Next time you're out shopping, you'll stay close to your grown-ups, won't you?" "Yes, sir," said Morty and Ferdy Mouse, and they meant it from their hearts. Then Santa's helper smiled and held open the big door while they all ran out to the car. "See you Christmas Eve," he called as he waved goodbye. "Merry Christmas and good night to you all." And you just get one story, because that was the one Christmas one in there. Hopefully things will be better soon, for it's a lot nicer than things being worse. I can't imagine things much worse, and I've had things worse, so I guess I can imagine things much worse. But being kept from my daughter for 2.5 years is criminal, and I don't want to have to pin somebody down to fart in their face, 'cause I could do it without force.